We also want to try to, again, get some consistency and get a proper, we've done a pretty good job, I think, the last couple of years as far as getting them properly inducted, but also gets a little more consistent on the classification talk. As we said before, introduce the Red Badge program and participate jointly in a Rotary program at the club and district level. If possible, and again, it's great if there's some sort of common bond between you and the mentee, but take an opportunity to meet them for coffee or for lunch or an activity. Again, the more they feel like they belong and they have true friends within the club, the more likely they'll want to come back. Again, we're back to monitor the progress in the club, be proactive and intervene if necessary, especially if you see that they're starting to slip away. I will tell you that early on in Rotary, it wasn't a matter of convenience, but I know work demand was high, and I missed 3 meetings in a row. Well, the fellow who was my sponsor called me up after missing the 3rd meeting and just checking in. Hey, is everything okay? We hadn't seen you. I just want to make sure everything's okay with you and nothing, no issues. And while I appreciated that, I also realized that, hey, it made it a little tougher for me to miss the next meeting, and then I got back into the swing of it. We want to explain every Rotarian every year to the new members, as well as the Rotary Foundation, and what the Rotary Foundation is really the lifeblood and the backbone of what the whole Rotary is all about. Check their progress on a committee involvement. Consider attending a board meeting or visit another club with your mentee, and report your progress to the mentor chair quarterly or as needed. I think it's very important that the mentor chair, Tom, gets kind of a report card back and to see how we're doing with our people, because if we don't check it, sometimes things just don't happen. So I think it's important. We owe it to the new people. If we want to see the new faces become old faces, we need to do a good job in probably the first 90 to 180 days.
Great. Thank you, Ray. We're going to switch over now to Jim and cover the specifics. The Membership Development Committee has put together a 30-day checklist, a 60-day checklist, a 90-day checklist. Also, just as a matter of housekeeping, in your control panel, there should be a section called handouts. And in the handouts is a copy of this PowerPoint presentation. There's a copy of the Red Badge program, a copy of the mentor checklist, which Jim is going to cover next, and a copy of the mentor job description. You can download them when you get bored of listening to any of us talk and have these on your computer, and you can just download them from the handout section. Jim, let's move on to the specifics of the first 30 days.
Okay, I hope you're not bored yet, so don't tune out. Some of these things are redundant things that we talked about before, where this is sort of just puts it in a time frame. So first off, we want to make sure that they get inducted, and you make sure that they get sworn in. You should play a major part in that and work with the president to make sure that happens. You should be talking with the new member every week. Certainly during the first 30 days anyway, and try to get them to an afternoon meeting and a morning meeting if you can, if that's possible. The other thing I think you want to do is familiarize them with the in-flight newsletter and the Red Badge program. The Red Badge program, you get that chart and show them the 10 things that they need to do and explain what it's all about, and I think they should be able to get a blue badge pretty quickly if you're really working with them to do that. The other thing is during that first 30 days and for the whole year that you're going to be working with them, sort of monitor their attendance and check in with them and find out if there's a problem or concern if they are missing missing meetings. Okay, why don't we go to the 90-day. On 90 days, I think one of the key things is to make sure, and it probably should be even before this, is that they get to do a classification talk. So with all of the club members learn something about what their background and what they're all about, and also try to arrange for it to be both in the morning and in the afternoon if possible. Now, it's not always possible, but it really would help to connect them with all of the members of the club if we can do that. Also familiarize them with all of the committees of the organization and explain it to them. You'll have already looked at learned something about their background, so maybe you want to recommend some things and some committees that they might want to join. But get them to sign up for a committee, certainly within the first 90 days. One of the things you can do also is to get them to come to a board meeting and see what the organization's all about, and teach them about the organization within the club, and also familiarize them with the Rotary District. I think that's.
Yeah, Jim, let me just interrupt for just a second. And as a mentor, if there are any of these things that you are not familiar with, like, for example, if you're uncomfortable talking about the club's youth exchange program, you know, maybe it would be just easy to sit with Kathy or someone who's got experience with the youth exchange program at a meeting and have a little bit of a conversation with them about that. So don't feel that you need to be an expert in all these different areas.
I think this is also going to be a learning experience. I've always thought that to teach is to learn, and I think if you become a mentor, you're going to learn a lot more about the club than you realize yourself. But we should educate them about the youth exchange programs, both the short-term and long-term, and also about the Interact, and maybe even get them to go to an Interact meeting sometime. Okay, with regard to 180 days, we're talking about the fireside chat. They should be registered for that, and that's a good time that they can learn all the things that maybe you didn't know about at the club that they can pick up at that thing. You should also work with them about the Rotary Foundation, what the giving part of it with regard to the Paul Harris Fellow and Paul Harris Society, but also a lot about what the organization, what the foundation does for us. I really believe it's the backbone of the organization, so we do need to get them educated about the good things that this foundation does so that they're interested in giving to it. And there are certainly a lot of people in the club that have that background and knowledge if you don't, so they can learn about it. Constantly you're going to be monitoring their attendance, but also start educating them about some of the district events and also our social events, and encourage them to come to these events, and make sure you go along with them if they need. You really become their friend and their guide within the club. You should be involved with any presentation. When you do present the blue badge, you should make sure people are aware. If they get to a point where they've got the 10 items in the the red badge program, that you organize it so that they get their blue badge in a timely manner, or certainly by the end of the year. The Leadership Institute we talked about before. I think there is a very strong need for education about Rotary, and I think the Leadership Institute is a perfect place for them to go. I think all new members should go to at least that first session. Okay, with that, we turn it over to Tom.
No, I think mentor accountability. Tom?
Okay, I think the very first bullet you'll see there, we're going to be contacting you on a quarterly basis to check your progress with your mentee. I think this is something new. It had been in the dark ages, something that had been in place. I think it had lapsed, and the membership committee feels that we need this feedback, I think, from you as well as you're working with your individual mentee. So that's something where I will be contacting each of you who has a mentorship relationship so that you can give a report as to how the progress is working and any suggestions as to what might be a good, change to make in this. So in there, we're going to be looking if there are issues or concerns, terms of, that you've observed, poor attendance. I think early on, that seems to be a very, very key issue. May not wait for a quarterly report. If you see there's poor attendance and you don't see your mentee, I think reach out to me or reach out to, I think, Barry or Jim or Ray and anybody to see if there is somewhere we can reach out to, maybe the sponsor as well as the mentee. And then again, just re-emphasizing this red badge program. It is, I think, really the best work program, I think, identification that we have, and it's relatively easy, I think, to get the 10 participation tick-offs there. In terms of just looking down those. If any of you, I think, have used these before and worked with your mentee, I think it's probably the easiest thing, like assisting in the sales of tickets for the weekly 50-50. The fireside chat. If nothing else, you'll have a good drink and some good fellowship. So I think they are been updated for things that we have, I think, in place in the Madison Rotary. If there are questions in there, suggestions as to maybe, revising, changing one of the slots that there, or if you got one that you think you just like to add, fine. When you were looking at those 30, 90, day slides with Jim, there may be other things there that you have done that are not on this sheet. So be free to add things that you would think would allow you to accomplish that 10 slot. Let's see. Next slide. Okay. This is probably evident, I think, to each of you, because if you're working with your mentee, you are probably going to become a better Rotarian yourself. So I think that's an added plus that I think is accomplished by your volunteering in this particular area. One thing I didn't mention earlier, when I try to go out and circulate, the list for people being mentors, I try to identify for you whether they're going to be a morning or a lunchtime or maybe multiple, to try to get a better fit, because using the weekly meetings is probably the easiest way to accomplish your task. So that, I think, is a critical thing in getting back to me. If you yourselves say you're primarily a morning or you're an afternoon lunchtime person, let me know. I'll try to then make it a little more tailored then to the potential candidates for this slot. Last thing, Barry, you got the upcoming event. There's going to be a fireside chat a week from today, January 18th, and Barry is hosting that, I see. And Barry, are you cooking again?
I am. We're having roast turkey. Menu's already formed.
Menu's already done?
Menu is already done.
And then there's, again, for some of you who are working with current mentees, there's the orientation webinar that will be coming up. Again, I think it's a good way for them to, hear, and I hate to say this, an organized presentation on, things that we feel they need to know. So it's a booster for you, I think, in that particular area. And then the Leadership Institute, April 22nd at the West Orange High School. And I think individuals know, I think the value of that particular program.
I think on the Rotary Leadership Institute, since it's so valuable for many people, I think this is an excellent event where the mentors and the mentees ought to think about going together, because you can sort of spend a day together in a classroom and really answer questions. They're great presentations, but there's still a lot of questions that come up. I think one of the things that sticks in my mind is that when people join Rotary, what they're really joining is an organization that they want to do something and help out locally in our own community. Nobody really knows much about Rotary beyond the club, so to speak. They don't know the district, they don't know international, they don't know what's going on in the world relative to Rotary. I think as mentors, it's important to work and broaden that concept of what Rotary really does. I see a note from Dave that he can no longer hear. I don't know exactly why. I do see that your microphone is gone, Dave. I don't know what happened, but everyone else is still there, so bear with us, and we'll do the best we can. At this point, that's pretty much all we have in terms of presentation. Now, are there any questions that anyone has? Welcome back, Dave. I see that you're back.
I guess the one thing I wanted to say is that what we're really asking you to be is proactive. We want you to take the initiative and educate them about all of these things. And if you don't know the answers, there's plenty of people in the club that you can introduce them to so that they can learn about what Rotary is all about as quickly as possible and getting involved. Make sure they do get involved, whether it's selling tickets for the 50-50 or whatever it is right off the bat, so that you get to know other members of the club.
Thanks, Jim. Any other comments by anyone else?
Yeah, Barry, this is Deb. You made a comment earlier about, if they're behind in their dues and things like that, but that's something we might not know. So would that information would come to us, and then we would in turn contact our mentee, correct?
Yes. I mean, the way that that's working is Art keeps track of all of that stuff in terms of the payments, and the committee passed a policy that says 90 days is the maximum amount of time that a person should be able to go without making some sort of payment. And so after 90, when they reach that point, Art brings the information back to the committee, and the committee will get the information to the individual mentors.
Okay.
Barry, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for putting this presentation together. Barry, Jim, Ray, and Tom. I think this is excellent. Now, Barry, you made a point about Rotary Leadership Institute, about attending with your mentee. That might not, I should say that might be pretty challenging to spend a whole day together because the mentors might not be at the same level as the mentee. They can certainly go together and enjoy breakfast together, but they might not be able to be in the same classrooms together.
Well, unless the mentor has gone to previous training, everyone starts out at Rotary Leadership Institute 1. Right. And the classes are generic enough, but a lot of our mentors who have been experienced and been around for a while have already gone, so they might be in level 2 or level 3. But there's a good time for breakfast, there's a good time for lunch. And it's good training for everybody, regardless of what level people are at.
And the price is right. Our club pays for it.
And we should really do our best to encourage everyone to go this year.
So one of the things that I just wanted to alert you to, we have brought in 7 new members this year so far. And they all have been assigned members, or mentors. We have three more new members coming to the board in January, so there'll be some additional assignments to be made. And there's another 4 or 5 member prospects who are really in the chain coming forward. So in the next 2 or 3 months, we'll be looking at another 5 or 6 new members who will need mentor assignments. Some of you have got mentor assignments, but some of you don't. And when Tom sends out the request, please respond back positively and jump in and help out. I appreciate that.
One of the things, Barry, just a comment, when is your job as a mentor over? I think officially, it happens when they have received their blue badge. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't just sever, all responsibilities. I think you'll have a continuing obligation. Some people, at least my experience, get their 10 deeds done very quickly. Others, it takes them closer to the year in terms of to get the blue badge.
Yeah.
So that, I think, is, how do you time when you think you're, quotes, done with your job?
Right.
I think is really going to be an individual choice, but I think a good signal is, if they've reached as far as the blue badge, you probably have done a very good job.
Right. And it really depends upon the individual. One of the people that I was a mentor for was Michael Belt. He probably could have been a mentor for me. He knows more about Rotary than I do, because he's been around for so long and has had so many varied experiences. So it really depends upon the individual. Some people take a long time, some people go very quick. Well, I want to thank you all for spending a half hour on the program. I hope this worked for you in terms of saving you a meeting, and you're doing this in the comfort of your home or office. And we'll hopefully see you at tomorrow's meeting.
Great.
Barry,
Thank you.
Question?
Barry, a question for you. That you had indicated that they should be able to make a copy of these slides if they wanted to. I can't see it on my screen.
So is there a section?
I just downloaded them while we were talking.
Yeah, there's a section called handouts on your control panel that you have to open. And then when you open the handouts, there's 4 different files in there. To make life easy, I'll just send you everyone all 4 files.
That's great.
So that everyone has them on hand.
Barry, don't you have this on some of the material on the website already?
Some of this is on the website.
Okay.
But not all of it.
All right.
Again, thank you, everyone. I'll pull.
Okay, just a quick question. Is the webinar, is it accessible again? Do you still have it designated as, a meeting and you can go back to it and therefore, pull up the handouts? Is that possible?
No. The webinar is being recorded, but when you get a copy of the recording, that's a static, non-online feature, so you won't be able to download them from the recording. But you'll have them within the next 10 minutes. I'll just copy everyone's email address and send them off to you. Thanks, everyone, and good night. We'll see you at tomorrow's meeting.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Barry.
Good night. Take care.